Maureen O'Hara's name remains synonymous with Hollywood's golden age. Her flaming red hair, piercing blue eyes, and a powerful screen presence captivated audiences from the moment she appeared in Technicolor films. She didn't merely participate in the storylines, she commanded them. Known for her strength and resilience, O'Hara became a symbol of the bold and independent woman who stood shoulder to shoulder with the leading men of her time. She wasn't just a pretty face. She was an actress who brought fire, energy, and complexity to every role. Her rise to fame, however, was not just due to her striking beauty, but her inner strength, which was often overlooked, but quietly made her a formidable force in Hollywood. A strict upbringing and the making of a star born on August 17th, 1920, in Dublin, Ireland, Maureen O'Hara grew up in a disciplined household that valued hard work and self-control. Her father, Charles Fitzsimons, was a businessman and a football administrator, while her mother, Marguerite, was a classically trained singer. The Fitzsimons family wasn't wealthy, but it was rich in creativity. Maureen's early years were not filled with indulgence, but with a strict regimen of training in the arts. From a young age, she was taught to perform, not for praise or attention, but as a form of self-discipline. Dance, drama, and music were part of her education, much like math or science. This early foundation and discipline would stay with her throughout her career, shaping the way she approached acting and her role in the entertainment industry. The transition from Ireland to Hollywood. By the late 1930s, Maureen O'Hara left Ireland for London, where she began auditioning for film roles. Despite her solid foundation in theater and performance, she approached the film industry with a sense of professionalism rather than excitement. Cinema, to her, was another environment to test her skills. While she didn't initially feel the pull of the camera as strongly as the stage, the technical aspects of film intrigued her. It wasn't until she caught the eye of director Charles Laughton that her career trajectory began to change. Laughton recognized O'Hara's steady presence and signed her to a 7-year contract. This pivotal moment in her life led to her becoming a central figure in Hollywood's Technicolor era, where she would go on to leave an indelible mark on the silver screen. Technicolor fame, the emergence of a screen icon. In 1939, Maureen O'Hara's career took a significant turn with the release of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, where she played Esmeralda. The film was a huge success, both critically and commercially, and showcased O'Hara's capacity to stand out in the dazzling world of Technicolor. Hollywood took notice, and RKO Radio Pictures soon purchased her contract, marking the beginning of her rise to stardom. With her fiery, red hair and commanding presence, she became the face of the Technicolor era. However, it wasn't just her beauty that made her a star. It was her unwavering discipline and ability to adapt to the technical demands of filmmaking that set her apart from other actresses of her time. As her star ascended, O'Hara's identity was increasingly shaped by the studio system, which sought to craft her image into something iconic. The battle between image and identity. As Maureen O'Hara became one of Hollywood's brightest stars, she faced the tension between her true self and the image the studios wanted her to project. Hollywood was not just interested in an actress's talent, they were interested in creating a marketable persona. For O'Hara, this meant the loss of her personal identity to the branding of Maureen O'Hara, the star. The shift from stage actress to film star came with a set of challenges. The more famous she became, the more her actions were dictated by public perception. She was expected to embody the strength and resilience of her on-screen roles, but the reality was more complicated. While the Technicolor lights made her larger than life, they also concealed the pressures and sacrifices that came with stardom, including her own desire for privacy and autonomy. A struggle for control, personal pain, and public image. Despite her immense popularity, O'Hara's rise to fame was not without its struggles. Hollywood in the 1940s was a system built on power dynamics that often left actresses vulnerable. O'Hara's refusal to conform to the industry's expectations, including her decision to turn down roles that she felt stereotyped Irish women or reduced them to mere decoration, led to her being labeled as difficult. But these decisions were born from a deep sense of self-respect. She wanted her career to reflect the strength and complexity of her real character, not just her physical beauty. Unfortunately, her desire to maintain control over her image and career often worked against her. She was seen as stubborn and uncooperative, and as a result, roles that she felt were beneath her began to disappear. The price of speaking out. In the late 1940s, O'Hara's career faced a significant turning point when she was sexually assaulted by a powerful producer within the studio system. Rather than stay silent, O'Hara reported the incident, only to have the media shift the narrative onto her personal morals, casting doubt on her credibility. The press coverage turned the incident into a scandal, not for the man who had assaulted her, but for O'Hara, the actress who dared to speak out. The response from Hollywood was a quiet but deliberate act of punishment. Though her contract was not immediately terminated, she began to notice that her roles were becoming fewer and farther between. Her relationship with the studio system began to erode, and she was slowly but surely removed from the spotlight. It wasn't a public shaming, but rather a subtle and painful withdrawal. Endurance in the face of Hollywood's system. As the 1950s approached, O'Hara's career began to reflect the changing landscape of Hollywood. The post-war era ushered in more focused and intimate narratives, and O'Hara's role in films like Against All Flags showed her ability to hold her own without relying solely on visual spectacle. Her character, though no longer the damsel in distress, was one who actively participated in the action, moving the plot forward with her own strength and agency. It was at this point that O'Hara's place in film history as one of Hollywood's first female action stars was solidified, long before the term action hero became a mainstream concept. Her work ethic, stamina, and ability to adapt to the demands of physically intense roles defined her legacy as a groundbreaking figure in cinema. A lasting legacy, the Queen of Technicolor. By the 1950s, Maureen O'Hara had become the quintessential Technicolor star, an actress whose fiery beauty and immense talent left a lasting mark on Hollywood. Yet, despite her success, O'Hara was never fully at peace with the system that had shaped her image. She continued to turn down roles that she felt didn't align with her values, and in doing so, she established herself as an actress who wasn't just part of the Hollywood machine, but someone who actively shaped her own narrative. Though often seen as a symbol of Technicolor glamour, O'Hara's career was defined by the quiet battles she fought off-screen, against the pressures of fame, the compromises of the system, and the need to protect her true self. Her refusal to let the system define her on her own terms made her a pioneering figure in the fight for creative independence in Hollywood. Maureen O'Hara's final years and the legacy of strength. As Maureen O'Hara's career progressed into the 1960s and beyond, she began to withdraw from the limelight, choosing roles that reflected her personal values rather than chasing the fleeting glory of fame. In the years that followed, O'Hara became increasingly reflective about her time in Hollywood, acknowledging both the triumphs and the challenges that came with her success. Her story is not just one of a glamorous movie star, but of a woman who fought against the odds, who stood up for herself in a time when many women in Hollywood were expected to remain silent, and who ultimately carved out a space for herself that was defined by personal integrity and strength. Maureen O'Hara's legacy endures not just as a Technicolor beauty, but as a pioneering force who changed the way we view women in film.